Hi, good afternoon, everyone. But today we are going to go ahead and begin with the first topic of Indian economy, one of the most important topics, and that is called India at the eve of independence. We want to go ahead and we want to understand how India was there at independence. How was the agricultural sector? How was the manufacturing sector? How was the service sector? तो कैसे कैसे ये sectors थे और इनमें हम बात करेंगे कि ये sectors क्यों grow नहीं हुए उस time पे, क्या इनका status था during independence. We want to go ahead and we want to understand all of that in today's lecture. आज का aim यही है, ठीक है जी? But the book that I am referring for this chapter, that is chapter number 1, Uma Kapila. Okay, so in case you need to go ahead and read a book, it will be chapter 1, Uma Kapila. So please start with me. Indian economy at independence. Planning, market, and state. तो बेटा 3 चीजों पे हमें फोकस करना है इस लेक्चर में. प्लानिंग कैसी थी इकोनॉमी की उस टाइम पे जब इंडिपेंडेंस मिला ही था, मार्केट स्ट्रक्चर कैसा था इकोनॉमी का जब इंडिपेंडेंस मिला ही था, और स्टेट मतलब गवर्नमेंट कैसा चल रहा था, हाउ वाज द गवर्नमेंट व्हेन वी गॉट इंडिपेंडेंस. फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल आई विल एक्सप्लेन, देन वी विल राइट. पहले एक बार हम समझ लेते हैं, फिर उसके बाद हम पैराग्राफ बाय पैराग्राफ इसको लिखेंगे भी. हाँ, सो ट्राई एंड अंडरस्टैंड. There were various features during the pre-independence period. जब हमें इंडिपेंडेंस नहीं मिला था उस टाइम पे इंडिया के बहुत कुछ फैक्टर्स थे जो एग्जिस्ट करते थे. सबसे फर्स्ट फैक्टर, द फर्स्ट फैक्टर दैट आई वांट टू टॉक अबाउट, दैट इज नियर स्टैग्नेशन. When I say near stagnation, it means that the economy was almost stagnant. मतलब grow नहीं कर रही थी, it wasn't growing. It was constant, it was stagnant. So that was the first thing. The second thing was a vicious cycle of poverty. What is a vicious cycle? A vicious cycle means ऐसा जो continuous चलता रहे. So when I say vicious cycle of poverty, it means that बहुत ज़्यादा poverty थी economy में, बहुत ज़्यादा अंडर लोगों की जो इनकम थी बिलो पॉवर्टी लाइन थी, राइट. सो पीपल डिड नॉट हैव गुड इनकम, people did not have good consumption. That's the second thing. So kya features we are saying beta? The first one is near stagnation. That means it was a period where everything was stagnant. The second thing was a vicious cycle of poverty. It means that we were into a cycle of poverty. The third one beta is low level of consumption. The consumption levels were very low. लोगों की जो consumption है वो बहुत ही ज्यादा कम थी. And the income levels were also very low, right? Achha, I am not only talking about the per capita income or per capita consumption. I am talking about not only the total income and total consumption. I am talking about per capita income and per capita consumption. That was very low. Then beta, we had low savings and capital formation. Money, there was no savings. भाई, if there is no income, अगर लोगों के पास पैसा ही नहीं है, so how will people save money? People cannot save money. So not only the thing that there was low income, but because people had low income, the savings were also low. And अगर saving नहीं होगी तो banks के पास पैसा नहीं होगा. The money that you save is the money people banks give out as loan, and that leads to capital formation. So if you don't save money, अगर आप पैसा बैंक के पास डिपॉजिट नहीं करोगे, savings and investment are related to each other. Investment will also become low. Clear beta? So these were some of the features that we had in the colonial regime during the British rule. जब British era था, during that period, these were few of the main features that we had. Right beta? So let's start writing this down. So please write down. the colonial regime. That's the first topic. That means I want to talk about what happened during the British period. So let's start writing it better. So please write down that the pre-independence period So as I've mentioned, it was a period of near stagnation. Matlab things were not growing at all. So was a period. We need to make sure that we know main points that we have to write. So we need to mention about stagnation. We need to mention about low income, low consumption, low savings and poverty. Ye 5 features hain jo isme the. So let's start writing. So it was a period of near stagnation for Indian economy. That's the first feature. Okay, beta. Then what is the second feature? That at the time of independence, India was captured or caught in vicious cycle of poverty. That's the second point, beta. Then what's the third point? Low per capita consumption and income. So please write down. There was low. You can also write them in points if you want. Capita consumption and income. Okay, beta. तो अगर कंजम्पशन कम होगी तो क्या होगा? अगर इनकम कम होगी तो क्या होगा? People will not have savings. So low income meant low savings. And beta, if savings will be low, then there will be no investment, because we know as an economic student that savings and investment are equal to each other. So if there is no savings, there will be no investment also. So this meant low investment. And beta, investment means what? Investment means capital formation, and therefore low capital formation. At last, just think about this. See, if I don't give you money, you will not be able to consume properly. आप खाना नहीं खा पाओगे अगर आपके पास पैसा नहीं है. अगर आप poverty line के नीचे हो, if you are below poverty line, you don't have money to eat food. Will you be productive? You cannot be productive. You will be surrounded by diseases. There is a very less chance that you can act productively. So because number one, you had less income, less consumption, labor productivity was too low. And number two, beta, because there was less capital formation, technology was not there. There was no capital, there was no machinery. So productivity was again low. So please write down, there was also low productivity in the economy. So I hope that these features are absolutely clear to you. But what are the features that we are studying? Near stagnation, that's the first one. Second one, vicious cycle of poverty, that's the second one. Third one, low per capita consumption and low per capita income, right beta? Then low savings, people were not saving money. Because savings were low, beta, investment was low. Investment low means capital formation was not there, and less machines and less income and less consumption. All of that meant beta low productivity in the economy. So that is the first aspect that you, I hope this is absolutely clear to you, right beta? Okay. So now let us go ahead and move forward and let us talk about India of 1947. But when I talk about India of 1947, during when we got independence, I must be dividing this India in multiple parts. The first part will be, ma'am, what happened in the agricultural sector? Agriculture mein kya hua? The second part should be, ma'am, what happened in the manufacturing sector? What happened in the service sector? So whenever we talk about independence, whenever we want to go ahead and understand what happened during independence, we must understand all aspects of independence. Okay? Let me first explain, then I will write it down. So first thing, beta, there was high dependence on the agriculture sector. Majority of my population, ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा लोग जो थे, वो agricultural sector के अंदर ही थे. They were in the agricultural sector. तो ये पहली बात हो गई कि ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा लोग village में रहते थे और ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा लोगों का जो livelihood था, जो उनको earnings होती थी, वो कहाँ से होती थी? Agricultural sector से होती थी. That's the first thing. Secondly, better the occupational structure was highly unbalanced. Unbalanced matlab kya? That majority of the people, 70% of the people, they were working in the agricultural sector. So जब ज़्यादा population एक sector में काम करती है, उसको बोल देते हैं हम unbalanced occupational structure. What is that called? Unbalanced occupational structure. So what we saw was that the occupational structure was highly unbalanced. But a third thing, we saw that the country was not self-sufficient. हमारे पास हमारे ही लोगों को खाना खिलाने के लिए खाना नहीं था. So we were not self-sufficient. We did not have enough food. And at the same time, we were not self-sufficient for industries also. So what do industries require? Industries require raw material, है ना? Industries को क्या चाहिए होता है बेटा? Raw material. This raw material was not present. Next, we were also having lot of famines, droughts. मतलब कभी बाढ़ आ जाती थी, कभी सूखा पड़ जाता था. So whenever you have famines, whenever you have droughts, but what will happen? No food. लोगों को खाना खिलाने के लिए नहीं होगा. The agriculture will be affected. So that is the next thing, that because there were famines, because there were continuous droughts, we saw that we started suffering. There was no food for people. Next thing, but we saw that illiteracy was also very high. People were not educated. In fact, at least if we go ahead and look at the numbers, 84% illiteracy was there. Log illiterate the. People did not have educational background. Next thing, but a communicable diseases were widespread. बहुत ज़्यादा diseases spread होते थे. We saw, अगर मैं पहले 10 साल की बात करूं during independence, from 1940 to 1951, what did we see? We saw that an Indian could barely live for 32 years. मतलब उसकी जो life span था, कि उसकी जो life expectancy थी, how much were we expecting him to live? Only for 32 years, right? Then there were diseases like smallpox, plague, cholera, malaria, fever, etc., etc. So all these things were what were happening when India just got independence. I hope this is clear to you. Now I will write whatever I have said. एक बारी फिर से समझ लेते हैं before I write. Majority of people were in the agricultural sector. This was highly unbalanced occupational structure. People were not self-sufficient. Food was not there for everyone. Raw material not there for industries. Illiteracy was very high. Communicable diseases were very high. And there was unequal distribution of resources, right? So basically, हम बोल सकते हैं that when we got independence, India was highly underdeveloped, not even developing. It was highly underdeveloped. Clear हो गए बेटा सारे features? Should I write that down now? So let's start writing this down. So please write down that Indian economy at the time of independence was majorly in the rural and agricultural sector. So Indian economy was majorly in the rural sector or agricultural sector with, but numbers are important, 85% of the population living in villages. So 85% of the people were living in village, और village में रहने का मतलब ही ये है कि आप agricultural sector में हो. So deriving their livelihood from traditional and agricultural sector. Okay, beta. That's the first thing. Second, जो मैंने बोला क्या था? It was a highly unbalanced occupational structure. So the backwardness of India could be seen through highly unorganized sector. So we had highly unorganized, not unorganized only, and unbalanced. Occupational structure. So it was highly unorganized, and as I mentioned, 70% of the people, they were in the agriculture sector. These numbers are important, huh? Of people in agricultural sector. Right, beta? Okay, so let's see this. The first thing that is important here is that 85% of the people, they were living in village. They were getting their money from traditional sectors and from agricultural sector. But a second thing is that it was highly unorganized and unbalanced sector, and 70% of the people, they were in the agricultural sector. Clear हुई बात? अच्छा, आगे समझो. What is the next thing I told you? That we were not self-sufficient. ना खाना पूरा था हमारे पास, ना raw material. So please write down. अच्छा बेटा, ये irony हो गई ना? जैसे for example, I am saying that majority of people, they are in agriculture. तो agriculture में तो कभी भी insufficiency नहीं आनी चाहिए. If majority of people are in agriculture, we should always have sufficient agriculture. But that was not the case. Still, we did not have sufficient food in our economy. So please write down the next point, that even though majority of people were in agricultural sector, we had insufficient food and raw material for industries. So both were insufficient. Okay. What's the next thing I told you? I told you that one, food अपने आप में insufficient था, but it was followed by situations like drought and famine. So please write down. it was followed by situations like drought and famines. ठीक है बेटा? Then ये second part हो गया food के बारे में. What's the third part? The third part is about the illiteracy rate. So the illiteracy rate was very high. So when I talk about the illiteracy rate, it was as high as 84%, right? 84% were illiterate people, and majority of the children matlab age group 6 to 11, they did not attend school. So majority of children, when I say majority of children, I mean 60%, up to 60% of the children in the age group 6 to 11, they did not attend school. Okay, beta. Then the next thing that happened during that period, it was related to the diseases. So बहुत ज़्यादा diseases फैले हुए थे, like smallpox, chickenpox, etc. Right? So we should be talking about those diseases as well. So please write down, beta, that there were many communicable diseases like smallpox, malaria, right, cholera, etc. And remember, healthcare system was not good. So bad healthcare with these diseases meant that millions of people were dying every year. So along with poor healthcare system, meant that millions of people died every year. Okay, beta. So what do we see? What are the features during this period? Not features, characteristics of this period, but the characteristics of this period ho gaya mass poverty. People were poor, high illiteracy, people were illiterate, deficiencies and less food, lack of food, and finally we have diseases, lack of food and diseases, and we had unequal distribution of resources. So all these features जो भी हमने ऊपर लिखे हैं, all these features showed the sign that when India got independence, we were what can be called as an underdeveloped country. So what can we say? Please write down that the India of 1947 under the British rule showed signs of underdeveloped nation. Right, beta? So inko ek bari please mark these down. So please mark here insufficient food, insufficient raw material. Here please mark down we had droughts and famines. Then beta please mark down that illiteracy rate was high at 84%. And also mark down that 60% of the children did not attend school. Please mark that there were communicable diseases that were going like smallpox, malaria, cholera, etc. And at the same time, we had poor healthcare system. So therefore, we can say that India was an underdeveloped nation. Is this clear? Okay. Now what I want to do with you But that is called as the distribution of national income and workforce. So now I'm going to go ahead and make a table. और वो table क्या बताएगा कि how the national income was distributed. So I'm starting with that table now. So please make that, huh? So let's say that I'm writing national income here. And here I'm writing workforce. Okay, beta. National income between 1948-49 and workforce can be given for 1950-51. So I am going ahead and giving these two informations. So the first one I have here is beta agriculture. Agriculture की जब भी बात करोगे, agriculture would mean that along